Okay guys, so here we are doing some expedition planning, ready for a big sea kayaking trip up to Harry's Hut and up to the Cooloola Sandblow. So what I thought I'd do is I'd just kind of lay out all the stuff that I'm going to be taking away on this trip, show you how I kind of package it up, show you how I dry bag all my things, and then we'll look at sort of loading up ready for our trip. So I guess first things first, when you're expedition planning, it's great to have a checklist. So use the list that I've got, meticulously go through all your things, lay it all out on your bedroom floor or in the dining room, cross-check that you've got everything, and then we'll go through the different gear that we're bringing. We're then going to issue you guys with like a spray deck that's going to go over your cockpit, and then I'll just go through the different pieces that I've got on my life jacket. Okay, so we're all going to be wearing life jackets on this trip. I've got sort of an emergency knife, a whistle. I've also got a spot GPS tracking system, and then in my front lot of catch here I've got sort of some sunscreen, some zinc, I've got an asthma puffer, and just a few other things that I'm going to need. I'm quite worried about exposure to the sun whilst I'm going to be paddling, and I've also got some water purification tablets there as well. So we never trust any drinking water that we have available to us. We always put in a tablet, one tablet for 1 litre of water, and that's going to just kind of keep us nice and safe. A little bit of other rescue gear here. I've got my my throw bag, I've got a paddle float, and then I've just got some ropes so that I can actually tow other people as well. Because we're doing a bushwalk, I've got just a small day backpack there, so when we go for a bit of a hike I can use that on my hike as well. So next we're probably just going to go through like the items of personal equipment that I'm going to be taking. So the things that I've got here, I've basically just laid them all out. So this is basically my clothes, okay? So I've got some undies and socks, I've got a jumper and tracksuit pants, I've got just another long sleeve shirt along with a couple of shirts and shorts. I've then found an old compression bag, or an old sort of sleeping bag. I'm going to put all my gear inside of that. Over here I've then got a raincoat and rain shorts. I've got another small sleeping bag. I've got 2 inflatable mats. I'm just taking 2 at the moment because one's a little bit dodgy, I'm not sure of that. Here's my sleeping bag. I've then got my tent. I also just pack like a little tarp that I set my tent up on top of, just to make sure that water doesn't come up through the ground. Water's really important. So here I've got a few different water options. I'm going to sort of probably bring all these ones along. So a couple of 1 litre water bottles that I can just throw one of those in my cockpit, and as I'm paddling along during the day I'll be able to drink that. I've also then got a few water bladders. Okay, water bladders are really handy if we wanting to cook dinner. I can go and sort of scoop up 6-8 litres of water at a time. These are basically an old wine bladder. Okay, if I open this up on the inside you'll be able to see that it's a wine bladder. That's just a really great way of being able to carry lots of water. The other item I've got here is my chair. That's probably the one luxury item that I'm going to bring along with me. Okay, then sort of the food sort of stuff that I've got here. So I've got my cup and plate, my knife and fork, a little kind of knife to help me with food preparation. I'm also carrying just a little bit of extra sunscreen, some repellent, along with more water purification tablets. I've got a battery pack just for my phone and a few other things. I've got my torch, another water bottle, and then I've got my kind of trangia and some food. The other thing that I've done is I've got a couple of those containers just so that we can put some sort of perishable food in there, like tomatoes and lettuce, and that's not going to spoil. The other thing that I do with my torch is I'm just going to check that my torch is fully charged. So I want to have a torch that's fully charged, all the lights are on there. So I'm then going to turn my torch off and lock it, or you might actually want to remove the batteries out of your torch so that you know that that's all good to go. Okay, so then that's basically all my kit of gear, and we'll talk about how to waterproof stuff in a sec. And then finally I've got, I guess what I'd call as a group leader, I've got my emergency equipment here as well. Okay, so my emergency equipment is basically I've got some lollies and snacks, which is kind of a really good one for morale of someone sort of low on energy. I've got a set of thermals and warm clothes there. Okay, I've got a first aid kit. I've got an army ration pack there. Okay, so 24 hours of kind of food. I've got some hydration fluids. I've got a like a jet boil there, so I can boil some water emergency to keep people warm.
I'm sort of thinking that, you know, the things that could go wrong with us is if someone gets hurt or injured, we need to set up an overnight camp or a bivvy. We can sort of look after a person there. Or if someone gets, you know, dehydrated, we can try to rehydrate them with lots of water and hydrolyte solution. I've also just got a couple of emergency lights there that, you know, will attract attention, along with a bivvy bag, a big shelter, a sleeping bag and a mat to put someone on. So that's basically all the stuff that I'm going to be carrying. And now what we might do is just go through how do I waterproof all my stuff so that it's nice and warm.
Okay, alright folks, we're going to talk now about how to waterproof our clothes and how to waterproof our sleeping bags. Super important part about expedition planning and packing. So this is a down sleeping bag, okay, so it's made of the feathers that normally are on the duck breast or goose breast, and it's been put into a lovely sleeping bag. Most of the time I just keep it in this kind of pillow so that I'm not compressing all the feathers so that it doesn't you know, expand and retain a lot of its kind of warming characteristics. To waterproof my sleeping bag, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a plastic bag and I'm going to put this inside the sleeping bag that I've got, okay? If I just try to waterproof things by putting them inside a plastic bag, what you'll find will happen is as you pack that into your boat, that the plastic bag may rip or become distorted and let water in. So I find if I line my sleeping bag liner with a plastic bag, I'm then going to use the sort of stuffing technique and I'm going to stuff my sleeping bag inside my lined sleeping bag and this way my bag will be waterproof for my trip. And I'm going to do the exact same thing with my tent, with my clothes and all my other things. So you may be in a family that you own 2 or 3 sleeping bags. These dry compression bags or these dry sleeping bags become really important to actually waterproof all your things. Okay, so I've got my sleeping bag. I've then got a bag inside there. What I'm going to do to start with is just kind of push down on that bag, and I'm just trying to push out all the air, or as much air as possible, so that then my garbage bag is actually waterproofing my sleeping bag on the inside. I don't try to try up that bag. All I do is just do a couple of you know, rotations of the bag. I then shove that plastic bag inside there, do that up, and then you can also see that because I've taken all the air out of that sleeping bag, it actually goes a lot smaller in size than the normal bag for my sleeping bag. If you've got a really big sleeping bag, okay, you might need to look at actually getting a smaller size. But basically what I've done there is I've waterproofed my sleeping bag inside the bag that it comes in, providing protection to the sleeping bag. It's a nice small size, it's still going to fit inside my hatches, and that's how I'm going to keep all my gear waterproof when I go sea kayaking. Lots of small bags, so I'm compartmentalising different things. In case water gets inside this sleeping bag, I've got a separate bag for my clothes, a separate bag for my tents, and a separate bag for my kind of thermals and other gear. So that's it folks, that's how you're going to waterproof all your things to then go inside the hatches of the sleeping bag. It's looking like it's going to be a fantastic expedition, and I'm looking forward to taking you guys up into this wilderness area and exploring some of the cool places up there.